From CNN, USC cancels pro-Palestinian valedictorian's commencement speech.
Security or censorship?
Security or censorship, she says. CNN, right? The kings of you can't say that. The kings and queens, the they, them, z's, them, zers of you can't say that.
So interesting is, remember, it's illegal to possess these stolen documents. It's different for the media. So everything you learn about this, you're learning from us.
So when they want to say something, it's censorship. But when they don't want to hear something, it's hate speech.
Israel's war in Gaza continues to test the limits of free speech here in America. Backlash tonight.
And look, I am no expert on geopolitics.
I am not the expert on geopolitics on this issue,
But Israel's war in Gaza, this is obviously a distraction. They want us to talk about this conflict nonstop. But if I'm not mistaken, it was all sort of started by an incursion by Palestinians or the people of Gaza in that music festival. We all remember that, right? But we've sort of memory hold that, and now it's all about, the genocide, which I, could be of the mindset that it's not really a genocide, it's just the fog of war, and that's what happens.
Right after the University of Southern California cancels this year's graduation speech by its own valedictorian. Asna Tabassum is a medical engineering student who is also...
And if, say, somebody on the other side of this conflict were to have their commencement speech canceled, would CNN run a story about that? Maybe they would, right? I genuinely don't know, but it's clearly a weird race-baiting position that, the brown people are being canceled.
So Muslim, and she beat out nearly 100 other students for this year's top spot. But now the university says the discussion of her selection took an alarming tenor. USC blames unspecific threats to safety as the reason for scrapping her speech. Joining me now is Asna Tabassum, University of Southern California valedictorian. Asna, thank you very much for joining us. My understanding is that this week you met with university officials to address security concerns. What happened in that meeting? Did they tell you about any specific threats?
No, actually, they did not tell me about any specific threats, and my request to ask for the details of such threats were denied. And so it leads me to consider whether...
Yeah, I'm sure there were plenty of threats on the campus of USC, but you don't want to talk about these people blocking up traffic in airports across the country, the Bay Bridge, several freeway entrances in the Bay Area specifically. Those don't count, right? Those aren't threats of violence. That's just peacefully protesting, I guess.
The decision to revoke my speech was made on the basis of safety alone.
Do you have a sense of whether there was a concern for your safety or perhaps the safety of other students?
The safety, I think, is a priority for all students, including myself. And so it was made unclear to me because I received no details about what specifically the security threats were directed to.
So the university has said that this...
Yeah, well, if they were to tell you, right, I mean, some things they have to keep... I don't know anything about being a college security officer, but they can't just tell you exactly what they're looking for because then that could, in theory, ruin the state, could in theory ruin I guess it's not an investigation, but you can't just spew out exactly what you're looking for because that could throw a wrench into the whole thing.
This is not a free speech issue. Do you view it that way?
I think there's a nuance here. I think, I expressed an opinion through a link that I had on my Instagram. The hate and the vitriol that was unleashed towards me after, I think, was part of the reason that the university caved in. And so
it's always hate and vitriol. Just simply disagreeing with somebody is enough to constitute hate, as we know.
When it comes to being a free speech issue, sure, maybe my valedictory speech is a privilege, and it's a privilege I do not take lightly, and other students and evidently people around the world do not take lightly. But at the end of the day, my views, the views that I have expressed and the views that USC has instilled within me as well, were stifled and were subject to hate.
Yeah, okay, subject to hate. And I'm sure, look, I haven't done the research on this lady, but It's quite possible that she was posting some extreme things on Instagram or Twitter, Facebook or whatever, right? So they never want to take any responsibility for what they do. It's only when they have to face a little tiny, and this isn't even really consequences. This is just them saying, okay, no, you're not going to do that. And we don't know. They didn't tell her, or maybe they did tell her, and she's not telling the news lady, but she might have posted some wacky things on Instagram, and they were like, all right, no, we're not going to do that.
Just brought up a link that was posted through your social media page. I do want to ask you about that since you did.
Okay, here we go. So maybe they're going to tell us what she said, and this could be the reason why they canceled the speech. Of course, she's going to say, oh, it's just hateful, and they don't want to do it. And then, she says, okay, it's not really a free speech issue, which is fair enough.
It up. One of the items in this post calls for the complete abolishment of Israel. Is that a position that you endorse?
And there you go. That's enough. That is reason enough to cancel her speech, but she's pretending she doesn't know why.
If you're asking me if I stand for human rights, if you're asking me if I stand for equality and unequivocal and unconditional right to life for all people, including Palestinians, then I'm not apologetic. I believe in what I believe, and it is because of the people around me that I've met at USC, the classes that I've taken, the professors that I have learned from, that have led me to look at the world in this way. And it's unfortunate that human rights is controversial.
The reason I'm asking is because that's what the link said. It called for the complete abolishment of Israel. Abolishment of Israel was in the actual language. Is that something that you endorse?
And there you have it. It's really not rocket science.
So the abolishment of the state of Israel, I'd like to clarify, is the abolishment of an apartheid system. It inherently is a system that subjugates Palestinians as...
Is that what you said, though? Or did you go on Instagram and call for the abolishment of an entire nation, right?
Humanized, and it subjugates Palestinian life as not worth the same as other human life. So when the link says...
So is that a yes, then?
I think a yes or a no would be an injustice to the issue. And
she's not going to answer the question, which obviously means, yes, she stands by that. She meant that. And now she's pretending she doesn't know why the speech was canceled. Okay.
And I think that any sort of ideological debate or any sort of academic discourse is worth clarification and worth discussion.
You're in a university environment, and as a Muslim student, your experience is important and it matters. And as you said, you want the university to protect you. But I wonder about your Jewish classmates. Some of them have said that your...
This is actually pretty crazy. It's like a CNN reporter is doing some modicum of journalism and actually asking fairly difficult questions of, a college student. So it's not real. I mean, the bar is so low that whenever there's a little bit of, pushback on their part, it's seen as a positive, which I guess in this case it is. But again, I mean, it's just, they're so terrible. They're literally propagandists of the highest order. So when she pushes back, it's like, all right, it seems fairly level-headed.
Selection to speak at their graduation has turned that event into an unwelcome and intolerant environment for Jewish students. What do you say to them?
I believe that every Jewish student at commencement deserves to be represented just as every other student at commencement. The position of having a valedictorian honor is supposed to be a unifying honor. And I believe...
But you weren't unifying at all. You were calling for the eradication of an entire nation.
That my commitment to human rights and my commitment to equal treatment should not be signified as, or not be manipulated into, an expression of disunity.
Equal treatment, yeah, right. You want special treatment. It's the same thing across the board with the feminists, of course. And of course the transformers also. We just want equal treatment. No, you don't. You have equal treatment. We all have equal treatment, right? Sometimes things go your way, sometimes they don't. What you're looking for is special treatment.
I think what I say to my Jewish classmates is that your feelings are heard, and I think that you're entitled to your own positions on an ideological or on the basis of academic discourse. But when it comes to human rights and when it comes to the unequivocal and unconditional right to life, then I think that all USC students, because I have faith in my university.
The right to life? No, okay. Are we going to pretend that this, maybe she doesn't know where the phrase comes from. I don't know where the phrase comes from, but right to life is typically like a pro-life thing about not binning babies, but different story completely.
That instilled these values in us. I believe that all USC students believe in that.
Did you plan in your speech to talk about Israel and its actions? And if you had the opportunity to give it, what would you have said?
That's a great question. So I actually had not started working on my speech at all. If I were to be able to give a valedictory speech, a message of hope. When it comes to me saying a speech, again, me taking a valedictory speech that is supposed to be unifying, I would definitely encourage and I would challenge and I would implore my peers to reconsider and to consider the ways in which their education can allow them and offer them the responsibility to look at matters of the world and take them into their own lens, make their own decisions, and make their own I want to say, not be told what to believe, and then use those.
That's all you guys do, is tell people what to believe. It's literally it, from this young lady to the CNN, their whole team, their whole squad. Right? They're constantly trying to tell you what to think, right? I think it was Mika Brzezinski who famously said, well, that's our job.
He could have undermined the messaging so much that he can actually control exactly what people think. And that is our job.
Yeah.
Those conceptions to make a change for the greater good.
Asna Tabassum, thank you very much for joining us.
Okay, well, that lady, she's not that bad. She's definitely not as extreme as the woman in Bakersfield, California, I believe, who said, oh, we're going to show up at your house. We all remember that.
You guys want to criminalize us with metal detectors? We'll see you at your house. We'll murder you.
Next speaker, please.
Lance, followed by Kev, followed by Valeria.
Ms. Patel, that was a threat, what you said at the end, and so the officers are going to escort you out and take care of that.
But this lady, or this woman actually, is a complete hack, of course, but this interview was not that bad, and the valedictorian is a complete liar.